Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on July 1. I can't believe it's July already. 2025, and it's been raining on and off all day and very humid. But I wanted to record this yesterday, and of course, you know, the criminals, they like to control other people by knocking them out with radio frequencies. They've been knocking out my cat's building with radio frequencies to the metal roof today, and each time I download the video, there's no audio. So I might have to record it on another camera and then upload it that way. But yesterday, the Justice Department, you know, the Department of Justice, the DOJ, announced a healthcare fraud takedown resulting in 324 defendants in connection with over $14.6 billion. And then, of course, it says alleged fraud, you know, because it's alleged until they're all convicted. So they announced the results of its 2025 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown, which resulted in criminal charges against 324 defendants, including 96 doctors, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, and other licensed medical professionals in 50 federal districts and 12 state attorney general's offices across the United States for their alleged participation in various healthcare fraud schemes involving over $14.6 billion in intended loss. The takedown involved federal and state law enforcement agencies across the country and represents an unprecedented effort to combat healthcare fraud schemes that exploit patients and taxpayers. So, this is the Department of Justice. So, let me show you what these critters look like, and then you can hear a little bit of it for yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Gagliotti, and I'm the head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. Thank you all for joining us today as we announce the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in the history of the Department of Justice. Today marks a decisive moment in our fight to protect American taxpayers from fraudsters and to defend the integrity of America's healthcare system. We are announcing today charges against 324 defendants for their alleged participation in healthcare fraud schemes involving approximately $14.6 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs.
So these are false claims that are submitted. False claims. In some instances, they said that the claims were fabricated and that some people were forced to endure procedures that had no merit at all. They just to overcharge people. And now, let me just show you down here. The comments are turned off. So as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, okay, this is just the medical fraud. I really wanted to write down something about the psychiatric fraud, but we'll have to save that for another video. There's nowhere for me to leave a comment here. So let's continue a little bit here.
In a takedown this large, I can't possibly describe all of the work that went into dismantling each scheme, but there are 4 key points that bear emphasizing. First, let me be clear about what these healthcare fraud schemes mean for every hardworking American family. These criminals didn't just steal someone else's money. They stole from you. Every fraudulent claim, every fake billing, every kickback scheme represents money taken directly from the pockets of American taxpayers who fund these essential programs through their hard work and sacrifice. And when
Now that kind of reminds me of those COPS programs. You know, we fund them with our tax dollars. So the money is coming from the Department of Justice. It's funneling down into the states that then funnels it down to the individual programs, like, you know, paying off your neighbors to break into your house, throw poopy diapers in front of your mailbox, stuff your mailbox with a dildo. So our tax dollars are paying for organized crime, but it's mostly disguised in ways that these people don't even talk about. But we'll continue.
criminals defraud these programs, they're not just committing theft. They're driving up our national deficit and threatening the long-term viability of healthcare for seniors, disabled Americans, and our most vulnerable citizens. This enforcement action involves the seizure of cash, as well as luxury vehicles and properties, returning real money to American taxpayers and to our government healthcare programs.
And by the way, I just want to say this is not anything that's new. When I was an HR manager a zillion years ago, working in New York City, there was somebody in our California office that was submitting all this chiropractic work. And working with this one particular doctor. But this one particular doctor, it appeared as if he were taking these, you know, charging people the maximum out of pocket for the year with several people. So this was a scheme to defraud the system. Back then, these people did not have chiropractic issues, but they made a deal to use their name to go to this particular doctor, and they were splitting the money that was being paid out to them. So this is not anything new.
Second, we are seeing a disturbing trend of transnational criminal organizations engaging in increasingly sophisticated and complex criminal schemes that defraud the American healthcare system.
Okay, so now this is going to lead up to that we absolutely have to have that FISA 702. You know, so here we have transnational.
As part of this takedown, we've identified and charged defendants operating from Russia, Eastern Europe, Pakistan, and other foreign countries. These individuals have infiltrated our healthcare system to steal American taxpayer dollars. As just one example, we dismantled a scheme involving a sophisticated operation run from Russia and Eastern Europe that strategically bought dozens of medical supply companies in the United States and submitted more than $10 billion in fraudulent healthcare claims to Medicare.
That's really interesting. Excuse me, that these companies from overseas were permitted to purchase many of our medical supply companies here. How do we allow this to happen? How do we allow all these foreign companies to come into the United States and purchase our U.S. companies? How is that even allowed? So that's what they're saying here, that these companies from overseas came into the United States and deliberately purchased multiple medical supply companies, and then went to defraud them. So why do we allow all these foreigners to buy up our companies? It's our fault.
To make matters worse, these perpetrators used the stolen identities of more than 1 million Americans spanning all 50 states to perpetrate this scheme and submit these false claims. But I'm pleased to report
that's the only way they got caught. I'm sure that's the only reason why this is being reported, is because multiple people discovered the identity theft, the identity fraud, and it all came back to this little network here. And I guarantee Americans are involved too.
That federal agents intercepted and arrested key members of that organization at U.S. airports and the U.S.-Mexico border, cutting off their intended escape routes. The days of transnational criminal organizations using the American healthcare programs as their personal piggy bank are over. Third, this takedown resulted in criminal charges against 74 defendants, including medical professionals who fueled America's deadly opioid crisis for personal profit. These are not isolated instances of poor judgment. These are calculated schemes designed to exploit Americans struggling with addiction while enriching the very people who were duty-bound to help them heal.
Well, I know of many psychiatrists out there that are duty-bound to help Americans heal, but instead they're labeling them falsely with psychiatric conditions that they don't have and forcing them to take medication that's very harmful to them. So this is only the tip of the iceberg. This is just, you're just talking about the medical system. Wait till you investigate the psychiatric system.
We charged pill mill operators who prescribed unnecessary opioids. We dismantled networks of corrupt pharmacies that existed solely to distribute drugs to addicts and dealers, feeding the addiction crisis that has devastated so many American communities. This is not healthcare. It is a staggering breach of trust. And under my leadership, the criminal division will prosecute these criminals as aggressively as we would any drug dealer.
Good.
Because that's exactly what they are.
Good. Excellent.
Fourth, many of the defendants charged as part of this takedown specifically targeted our most vulnerable citizens, elderly Americans in nursing homes, individuals with disabilities, those battling serious illnesses, and more. For example, our prosecutors charged 7 defendants, including 5 medical professionals, in connection with approximately $1 billion in fraudulent claims to Medicare and other healthcare benefit programs for performing medically unnecessary skin grafts on dying patients as they were seeking to spend their final days with dignity and peace.
Is that disgusting? Medically unnecessary skin grafts as they were dying. Is that unbelievable? Stealing their skin. This is really deeply disturbing. $1 billion in false claims by our very own medical doctors. As if they don't make enough money, right?
That conduct is exactly as callous and disturbing as it sounds. Patients and their families trusted these providers with their lives. Instead of receiving care, they became victims of elaborate criminal schemes. Today's takedown marks a historic day. In addition to the tireless work of our Fraud Section's Healthcare Fraud Unit, this extraordinary effort would not have been possible without the law enforcement agencies with me here today.
Okay, we can end here. Okay, so that's the breaking news yesterday. Healthcare fraud takedown results in 324 defendants in connection with over $14.6 billion allegedly. Okay, and this adorable little painting is by Mira in Sri Lanka. And I would like to know what the penalties are going to be. So far, when I was listening to this, they discussed basically what was happening, what they did, what they uncovered. But we're not exactly sure what the penalties are going to be just yet. Like, are these people going to be incarcerated? Are they going to lose their medical licenses? Will they be required to pay restitution? I mean, think about that for a minute. It's a horrible scheme. But I'm looking forward to them investigating the psychiatric industry, because if you want to uncover some schemes, I'm sure every one of us has a story to tell about the psychiatric industry. Oh yeah, and they work with law enforcement. That's true. Yeah, that's right. So that's why I ended it there. I really don't want to hear about this nonsense, okay? But I'm glad, that the Department of Justice has finally come out with a story where they've actually arrested some people fraudulently stealing money from taxpayers. So leave a comment down below. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Did you hear about this story? Do you know anybody that has been ripped off in the healthcare, Medicare fraud connection to this story? Anyway, this is Lorraine Alternative Homestead. I'm going to sign off for now.